People are terrified to buy a house right now because they've been taught one toxic idea. If a house isn't a good investment, you shouldn't buy it. But here's the uncomfortable truth that no one wants to say out loud. Your house isn't supposed to be a good investment, at least not entirely. People who should absolutely buy houses are frozen because ROI culture has convinced them that shelter needs to carry the weight of the world. So let's talk about why chasing ROI destroys the housing market, why homeownership is intentionally imperfect, and why the very thing you think is bad about owning a home might be the only thing protecting it from Wall Street. First, let's get this out of the way. Every house you buy, and I mean every house, is a decaying object. Every single one. Every house is quietly auditioning for the role of money pit. The world runs on entropy. Your roof knows it, your plumbing knows it, your siding knows it. This is normal, this is physics, this is life. For instance, if you upgrade your kitchen, it will in all likelihood return about half of what you put in. So if you spend $50,000 on the kitchen, you might get $25,000 back in added value. And this blows people's minds. I know it blew my mind. But here's the thing that people seem to have forgotten. You weren't just remodeling a kitchen for the next buyer. You were remodeling so you didn't wake up every morning feeling like you're eating cereal in the 70s. That's the return. A home's improvement ROI isn't just money, it's quality of life. You're investing in the place you actually live. And that emotional return apparently no longer counts. Because ROI as advertised only accepts two forms of value: appreciation, the money you get when you sell the house, or cash flow, rent. Either way, money in your hand and everything else is irrelevant. But homes don't appreciate because the cabinets are new. They appreciate because time happens, cities grow, inflation inflates, and land remains land. Your house isn't a stock. It's a slowly aging box sitting on a piece of dirt that may or may not be in the next hot zip code. That's it. And ironically, that imperfection, the fact that homes aren't perfect investments, is the only reason the American dream hasn't been eaten alive by institutional investors already. When regular families get spooked out of buying homes because they're told it's a bad investment, the housing market doesn't pause. No, nature abhors a vacuum, so the market fills in the vacuum. And guess who steps in? Well, it's not your cousin Steve. It's not the nice older couple down the road. No, the people who step in are running Excel spreadsheets with names like Yield Optimization Scenario B. They see your home as a line on a spreadsheet. They don't care about the neighborhood. They're not imagining Christmas morning or backyard birthday parties. They're imagining leverage, returns, and scale. And suddenly the American starter home, once a messy, imperfect, beautiful doorway into the middle class, turns into an institutional asset class treated like a bond. This is ROI thinking metastasized. This is what happens when the only metric that matters is yield. And the irony? Well, the same influencers who say, don't buy a home, it's a bad investment, are clearing the runway for the biggest people in the world to buy them instead. ROI thinking doesn't just distort personal decisions, it distorts the entire markets. Let's bring in an analogy that makes ROI purists furious. Children. A lot of these gurus who focus only on ROI have committed to a life without kids, and that's not a mistake. See, kids are the worst financial investment you will ever make. They destroy your sleep, your budget, your sanity, and occasionally your sheetrock. There's no dividend, at least for several decades. There's no cash flow. There's no exit strategy. And they don't appreciate faster than inflation. And yet every parent knows you don't have kids because they're a good investment. You have kids because they transform you, because you're more blessed to give than to receive. Kids are anti-ROI. Marriage is anti-ROI. Friendship is anti-ROI. All the things that make a meaningful life are terrible investments, and we do them anyways. So when someone says, don't buy a house, it's a bad investment, I want to ask, do you only make decisions that make you richer? Do you really think that the only way to justify something is through the lens of profit? Because if that's the worldview, civilization doesn't have a chance. And I think you know that. Civilization isn't built by people who optimize everything. It's built by people who commit to things that don't pay off immediately. And buying a home, rooting yourself somewhere, has always been one of those commitments. Now let's talk about the part of this conversation that nobody or rarely touches, what ROI only thinking does to a community. Imagine a neighborhood optimized entirely for return on investment. What disappears first? The coffee shops, the restaurant, terrible ROI. Long hours, thin margins, high risk, high labor. The kind of place that exists because someone loves people, not just profits. Now imagine what replaces it. Self-storage, beautiful ROI, predictable cash flow, low maintenance, few employees. But which neighborhood feels like a place that people would fight for? Which one feels like a community? Restaurants are the heartbeat of a city, whereas self-storage is infrastructure, the circulatory system of a life that has nowhere else to put its junk. But if ROI is the only measure, guess who wins? Well, the storage unit. Every single time. ROI only thinking bulldozes the soul. It replaces human scale living with spreadsheet scale development. And that's how you quietly kill a city. Not just with crime, not just with taxes, not just with politics, with ROI, or ROI only thinking. Here's the thing you're not supposed to say out loud. Owning a home is kind of a money trap. It'll take your weekends, it'll take your energy, it'll take a chunk out of your bank account at the worst possible time. It will require repairs you didn't expect, and expenses you didn't vote for, and patience you don't have. And that's exactly why it works. If owning a home were a perfect investment, if it were smooth, predictable, and effortless, well, Wall Street would own significantly more houses than they do now. They'd have bought a lot more already. And ironically enough, the imperfection protects us. The messiness keeps the system human. The maintenance keeps housing from being completely financialized. If homes were clean and predictable as index funds, families wouldn't stand a chance. Homes stay accessible precisely because they're not perfect investments. Buying a home forces you to stay somewhere long enough to matter, long enough to invest in a community, long enough to build friendships that outlast news cycles, long enough to become a stakeholder instead of a spectator. When you own a home, you fight for your street. You care about the schools. You care about the parks. You plant trees. You hopefully occasionally wave at your neighbors. You shovel the sidewalks. You learn your barista's name. You do work that builds the neighborhood. Now, renters can do that too, of course, but owners do it more consistently because permanence changes behavior. You have more skin in the game. Permanence is a form of wealth. Stability is a form of wealth. Belonging is a form of wealth. Community is a form of wealth. None of that shows up on ROI. And yet, those are the things that make a life like yours. Now, I came to all this thought process through being a realtor, and from helping first-time home buyers to families trying to upgrade, the same undertone shows up often. Is it worth it? People ask with fear, with hesitation, with the weight of the entire economy pressing on their chest. And it's a fair question, but I've started to wonder if it's even the right question. Now, I'm not advocating for some fantasy world with no storage units, or a world where you never have to think about a house as a good investment, which, by the way, I do think it's a good investment. We live in a time of heavy inflation and stagnant wage growth. And the temptation to chase ROI is real. It's rational, it's human. But consider this. What if the very pursuit of ROI, applied everywhere to everything, has created the world that we're now desperate to escape? And what if the reason the neighborhood feels hollow and homes feel unattainable is because we kept on optimizing and optimizing until there was nothing left to optimize but each other? And what if the only way back from that brink is to stop letting profits be the deciding factor at every turn? Not to ignore ROI, not to pretend that math doesn't matter, but to recognize that value is more than just a return. That the home is more than a financial asset, that the neighborhood is more than a cap rate, that a life can be rich when an investment isn't. Because if the only worth we measure is in dollars, well, we will continue to build a world that feels cheap no matter how expensive everything gets. We don't fix America by squeezing more profit out of it. We fix it by planting roots in it, by choosing commitment over optimization, by valuing the things that don't show up in a spreadsheet. I hope you think differently about value, and I hope that you build something deeper than just a portfolio. Build a home. Subscribe for more tips.